Welcome to another edition of Ed Dale Live. I'm Ed Dale, funnily enough. I'm live. Larry was here before, but he's wandered off. Big and excellent edition of Ed Dale Live. Today we are going to be doing a follow-up from Newsstand Carnage. Yes, Newsstand Carnage. So much more has been revealed over the course since we recorded on Wednesday night last week in terms of what Apple is doing with search. And I want to talk about that and the implications for marketers, for digital publishers. What does this mean? And it goes to that whole shift of being from the desktop and going to online. And it's something that we all need to look at. You know, I often ask my clients, look, have a look at your stats for your site. How many people are going to your site from a mobile? And how many people are going from a website? And typically, even the most non-mobile niches still have 10 to 20% of traffic from mobile. And then I just simply ask the question, well, are you dedicating your development resources and time appropriately, just to the same percentage of people who are arriving at your site? I think you'll find most of you are up near the 50 to 60% now. Certainly YouTube just did a press release this week which showed that over 50% of YouTube videos are now being put out here on the mobile device. So there you have it. So this is a very interesting thing. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to do that. And then I'm very excited to bring a interview with Kristen Noel. Kristen Noel is the Magcast publisher of Best Self magazine, and it is going to be a ripper of an interview. Some amazing techniques, the way she works with her, as she calls them, co-collaborators. She doesn't just call them contributors. And her use of Facebook groups in planning a digital publication is sensational. Also, her approach to affiliate marketing to a market that, you know, traditionally is not favorable to affiliate marketing. And the way she's doing that successfully is really amazing, really worth having a look at first. So that is going to be also excellent for us to be looking at and watching as well. If you want to feedback, if you've got questions or comments, you can use that way. There we are, right there. Got to get used to that. You can always contact me at any time. Best way is through Twitter, because I always see it. Use an @reply and go @Ed_Dale, and I will reply. And of course, if you want to join my mailing list so you get notified of these things and new articles, I've got a big new article coming up on the blog about all of these Apple changes and mobile changes, because Google's doing this stuff too. You can also go to, check this out, fancy. Yes, look at this. You can go to eddale.co. How about that? So you can get any further information that you want. And of course, I will be checking in on the comments here on the live stream as well. So let's get cracking. And of course, the big news last week, and over 1,000 of you have already watched the Newsstand Carnage. Hang on, one last time. Newsstand Carnage from last week, and I was inundated from Magcasters. We've got well over 1,000 publishers in the newsstand that use Magcast software now, and I got a lot of emails on that. Well, Tuesday morning for me, Monday afternoon for most others, about the changes to Newsstand. And I'm not going to go into them now because we covered that really, really well last week. And indeed, you can search for Newsstand Carnage and you'll see my video, and you can watch all of that breakdown. What I want to focus on is actually the sessions that happened, and I think are far more impactful and far more exciting, bluntly, than anything to do with Newsstand or the News app. And you start to see where all of this ties together. So I'm going to, now, one cool thing is you can actually see, you don't have to, if you go to developer.apple.com, you can actually look up the search session. And if the first 15, 20 minutes, you don't have to be a programmer or a techie at all to understand. But I'm going to give you my overview of that part from the perspective of somebody who is a digital publisher, an information marketer, and what it means for you specifically, because I think we're going to undergo, over the course of the next couple of years, a fundamental change in the way traffic comes to us and where we need to go to get traffic, where we need to build our lists, where we need to sell our products, and how people are going to discover that. So, first of all, and perhaps most fascinatingly, is this very insightful chart that Apple used. And you can see here, let's get rid of my newsstand carnage there. This chart here is the time spent on apps versus the web on a mobile device. So apps versus the web on a mobile device. And you can see the 14% there is time spent on the web. The 86% is time spent on apps. Now, if you've been listening to me, this should be no huge surprise for you because, of course, this is something that I've been railing on about for years. And you just have to observe, you look at your own usage habits. How much more time are you spending in apps, Facebook, Twitter, whatever it happens to be, messaging apps, as opposed to actually searching for something on the web? Now, why? Why is that the case? And we touched on this last week, and it is the consumer, Joe and Jane Smith's need for speed. They get a much, much superior experience when they're using an app because it's so much faster. Facebook really started taking off when remember how bad the Facebook app was? You know why? Because it was basically HTML5. It was basically what they call a web wrapper. And it was a terrible experience. And it's only recently, since they converted to a pure app, that the usage of Facebook on the mobile devices exploded. Instagram, for example, is Insta. It's in the name. Yet, if you think about one of the times when the interaction is terrible, is like, and we used this example last week, when you're on Facebook and you are searching and you find a news article that you're interested in, and you go to it, and all of a sudden, 8 seconds later, which doesn't sound like much to us, but we're not civilians. 8 seconds is an eternity to be waiting for something to happen. And so civilians just don't get it. And fair enough. And this is what Apple was trying to fix. And we highlighted that with the News app and Newsstand, but it goes so much deeper. And let me show you why. Because Apple introduced something called Search APIs. Now, think of APIs like a little plugin, okay? It's like if you're thinking about a Lego set, it's a way of clicking on something and it makes it easy for programmers for two things to communicate to each other. That's it. You don't even need to bother yourself with it. However, what you need to really understand, and this is so exciting, this is super exciting for Magcasters, this is super exciting for app developers, and as you'll see soon, super exciting for web owners. And it also will mean you really need an app. I don't care who you are, you need an app. Anyhow, let's explain what this does. So, if you don't have an app for something, how do you look for something? And I've been asking people all week since this was announced. And I was speaking to Chairman of 30DC, Henry Pinskier, yesterday, and I asked him, hey, if you're looking for a piece of information, how do you search for it? Just show me. And he did it two ways. He either dragged down the search menu, and you can see the little picture there. That's a classic search result type screen that you get on the Apple iPhone. Or, like most people, they go into Safari and tap the universal search box, the box at the top where you type in something, and you do this on Google Chrome, you do this in the web. It's an ingrained habit now. And you search for stuff there. So here's the fascinating thing. Now, Apple calls the search that you drag down Spotlight, and the search that you do in Safari a Safari search. So what happens if you start to type a particular topic? So if you started typing digital, for example, if you have digital publisher on your device, it may surface the app before the search result. Now, I hear what you're saying. Big deal, Ed. Big deal. In fact, some of that functionality has already been available. Here's the thing. You are going to be able to use a Magcast example because it's very easy. We will set up Magcast so it indexes. Now, the term index is just a way of, it basically means that your phone is reading all the information, storing it in a database that's searchable, so that Siri or Spotlight Search or the Safari Search can go onto your device first rather than having to go to the web. Why? It's super fast. It's much, much faster, much better experience. So if I am looking for Matthew Dellavedova, and I happen to have an article on my Magcast about Matthew Dellavedova, when a user of my, or a reader of my Magcast goes and starts typing in Dellavedova, guess what? That article inside the app will pop up on this search screen. This is so huge. You've got to understand how big this is. And it gets even more smart and even more exciting. So, for Magcasters and web publishers, it means that you can surface content. People can find articles in your magazine that are directly relevant to their search result. And it will be displayed first. And guess what? They get an amazing experience because guess what? The data is already on their phone. So it's super, super fast. And that's what Joe and Jane Smith need. And if it's super, super fast and Joe and Jane Smith get this, well, now what's going to happen? They're going to use this type of search more and more and more. And this is where I am facetiously saying Apple unleashes the smackdown on Google because, of course, they don't get to see this information. So the example they used in the WWDC example was somebody started typing in Napa for Napa Valley as a search, and instantaneously, look what came up on the device. Information from Airbnb. But it's more than that. They know that you actually booked this particular place inside Airbnb, the app. So it's actually surfaced your actual booking, and you can click on that and it goes straight to, get that, look at that. It goes straight into the app to the actual booking. But you might have noticed also there, it also showed the phone as well, right? You can see the second listing is actually your contact. Now, I don't know how many times I have done a search on my phone to find my Airbnb person so I can contact them to let them know when I'm going to be there or not. And think about it. What was that interaction previously? I would have to open up Airbnb, go into the message section, scroll through the messages, find the person that I want to hit, and then hit the contact list. That's just how it worked, right? Now, this information, all of that's indexed. So when we say indexed, it means that the lady, what's her name there? Abby, I think Abby K, that's indexed. So if I start typing in Abby in the search box, boom, up this comes. And guess what? A little phone is there on the right-hand side. You can tap that and make the phone call, which is so exciting here. This is, I hope you're getting this. I really hope you're getting this because this is absolutely phenomenal. The power of this is Alexis by the name. There you go. Even my reading glasses, I can't read at that level. But you can quickly tap. Now think about Joe and Jane Smith here. Think about user experience. And remember, that's what Apple cares about, user experience. All of a sudden, their phone has seemed to get 10 times smarter. By the way, if you use Siri search now, all of a sudden, Apple very cleverly, without exposing the Siri API, in other words, the way of contacting Siri, it allows developers, content creators, niche publishers to have that information. So if I say to Siri, I've got to be careful here because otherwise I'll start Siri up. But if I say, ahoy Siri, get me information on Matthew Dellavedova, and there's an article in one of my apps, then all of a sudden I'm going to get that information instantaneously. Or I'm going to say, hey, what's my appointment? And all of a sudden, I'm going to be able to go straight to that appointment. And the great thing is that the developer has complete access to this. Now, if you're a Magcaster listening to this, you don't have to stress about this at all. We will be fully supporting this. We think this is a massive, massive feature and a huge, we want people to see articles. We want people, and if you're a web developer, stay with me. And if you don't have a Magcast, stay with me, because don't worry, you're included in this too, because this gets more and more powerful. If you make available your information as public information. So that Airbnb information, that's not public information, that's private information. You don't want anybody to know where you're staying and so on. But if I've got an article about Game 5 of the NBA Finals, then I'm quite happy for that information to be public. And if enough people search for something and tap on your particular result, Apple will then float that up to its cloud index. Now, people may say to you that Apple's going to compete with Google with a search engine. That's complete and utter rubbish. They have no interest in providing a search engine that you can go to the web, applesearch.com, and type in search stuff. No interest whatsoever. They're thinking about a search engine developed, conceived for the mobile area. You shouldn't even see the search engine. Who cares? You shouldn't have to go off to another place to go to think about it. Go get your search result. You have to tap on web links. You're going out, you're giving all your information up as part of that process for marketers. And hey, as a marketer, I'm slightly conflicted about that, but I can absolutely see the use case for Joe and Jane Smith, the user. But here's the deal, right? So a whole bunch of people have tapped on my article in my Magcast about Deladova. Once it hits a certain level, Apple will actually push that result up into their cloud index. In other words, if you mark that as public, Apple will then start providing that information to other people on their phones. And what's amazing is that it will surface that result even if they don't have the app on their page. And they will also, if you apply this to your website and your web content for your blog, then it will surface that as well. And it's a very, very clever system because it purely relies on, it's not about gaming, it's about individual users, which is a very easy thing to see from an Apple perspective, actually interacting with that search result. And if enough people interact with the search result, in other words, using fancy words, they click on it and read the information, which of course Apple knows, then it will surface to this index as useful information. This is amazing. So you will be able to create these deep links. So again, the easiest way for me to describe this is for Magcasters. You will be able to, each of your articles will have its own link. You don't even have to think about this. As I say, it'll all be just supported. That's part of the benefits of being a Magcaster. You don't have to do a thing, but each article will be indexed so that if people search on content and it's in your article, it will show up. Enough people click on that article, it'll actually go up to the cloud index, and it means that when people search for Deladova Game 5, and a whole bunch of people have already looked at your article, Apple goes, oh, this article must be cool. Here's this other person who doesn't have your app or information that wants information on Deladova Game 5, and all these other people have said this is cool, so we're going to actually provide that information to the people who don't have your app, and we're going to encourage them to actually install the app. So let's have a look at a quick example that they showed at WWDC. So they typed in this particular Northern Nights music festival, and you see here they've actually surfaced the actual website, a suggested website. Why? Because when people have searched on their Apple device, this Northern Nights, it's actually come up for this particular music festival. So they think, the website's really interesting and really useful. But here's the cool thing. When you go to look at the tickets, guess what? It will surface the app because Eventbrite has already got all the ticketing information on your device. So rather than waiting for, have you ever tried buying a ticket on the web? It's a horrible experience, right? Going to Ticketek and going through the things and waiting and selecting and oh my gosh, it's terrible, right? It's still a miracle that we can buy tickets on the web for sure. But again, Joe and Jane Smith can't be bothered waiting for anything. So by being able to surface this app, and I don't know if you've ever bought an Eventbrite ticket. I have plenty of times. It's an incredibly beautiful experience. It's simple. It's all done straight away. It's immediate. It actually uses Apple Pay. It actually then delivers to Passbook your ticket. So your ticket's just there on the device. And when you arrive at the venue, the ticket's just showing on your app face. It's incredible. It's the future. And this is what you can do, which is why, and this is why all digital publishers, all niche marketers need to listen to this very carefully. And we're not talking about the next 6 months. We're talking about a transition over the next 2 years. But more and more and more, people will never see Google because they're going on an iOS device. And people say to me, well, hang on, Ed, 80% of the world are on Android. What do you mean? What about the 80% of people who won't see all this stuff? Well, and I'm sorry to be a horrible commercial marketer here, but all of my products, all of my services, sadly, are not vital to people's lives. They are not related to how they eat. They are not related to how they sleep. They are not related to anything, sadly, and that's a real shame because I wish they were that vital. But sadly, my stuff is not that vital. It relies on disposable income because it's not a mandatory purchase. It's not about rent. It's not about utility. It's not about food. And I suspect most of you listening or watching to this are in exactly the same boat. So I need people with disposable income. Guess where 80% of the world's disposable income population is? Yes, it's on iOS. Now, I know Android fanboys, iOS fanboys, you're all going to have a problem with that. I don't care about your religious war. I really don't. I'm interested in making some money. So, that's it. I just want to make some money. Just want to earn enough so I can send kids to school where I want them to go to school. We can go on a holiday. That's what I'm in this for. And people have to pay me for my information. They have to pay me for my products and services. And they need to have disposable income. And most of the people with disposable income have an Apple device. Sorry, that's just the facts. Okay, it's not my way. Now, just to try to suave those Android fanboys out there, and there are plenty out there, I get it. This thing that I'm describing will happen on Android as well. Google announced this at Google I/O, and for Magcasters, yes, we'll be supporting Google's version of this. We're agnostic. We don't care about iOS or Android. If you make a fortune on Android, bless you. I don't care. As long as you make your money. As long as I make my money, you make your money, we're happy. And we provide a wonderful service to the people who are giving us that money. We're good. We're golden. So we'll be supporting this. But it's something that you need to address. And so if you've got a website, if you've got a blog, you need an app. Okay? You need an app. And I know people that might be able to help you out with this very, very well. But it's going to be important so you can utilize all of this thing, because think about it. As people get used to getting their content instantaneously, if all of a sudden you're sending them off to a website and it takes 8 seconds for that website to load, you're dead. You're dead in the water. Not tomorrow, not next week, not by Christmas, maybe not even by next Christmas. But the Christmas after, we're in this for the long haul. We want to love and be passionate about our niche, and this is where it's all going. So let's just have one last example of this so you can see it. So this one, and this really gets to the nub of it. Somebody starts typing in sprained ankle, and based on Apple's public index data, they know that people who have typed in sprained ankle have gone to one of these apps. Now notice, none of these apps are actually on the person's device. So they are actually going to direct them to the App Store. So there's a wonderful traffic and discovery element to this, which is really wonderful. And so there you go. You can go and get the actual device itself, which is pretty darn cool. So this to me is a really powerful thing. Oh, by the way, something that was announced just before the whole, also as part of this, is Apple are going to provide ad and content blocking at a really deep level inside the Safari browser on the mobile device. And, again, Safari on the desktop, it's a long third or fourth in terms of browser, who cares? But on the iOS device, with people with disposable income, well over 80% of people use that device. So, you need to be very, very aware of this. You need to understand what the issues are here. You need to make sure that you start planning for this, because it's such a big deal. So there you have it. I hope that has been of real interest to you all. I think it's a major thing. We'll be talking a lot more about this. Hopefully I've been able to explain it. If you want more information and want to stay up to date about all of the things, because this is a developing thing, go to eddale.co. If you're interested in getting an app for your website, make sure you sign up at eddale.co, because we have something that is going to help you look after all of this for you, so you can concentrate on your content, you can concentrate on serving your market. If you're a Magcaster, be very excited, because you don't have to do a thing. The next version of Magcast will support all of this and will be available very shortly once people go to iOS 9. This won't actually even roll out to the public until September of this year. So, we've got time to plan, we've got time to figure it out. If you've got a question or a comment, please, Twitter is the best way. Just send me an @reply at @ed_Dale, and I will see it for sure, for certain.